Hello and welcome to pretty much my first somewhat structured video. I even have a fucking script, believe it or not. Alright, so what do I mean by positioning? Well, I mainly mean where you and your character is, and where the enemy is. Positioning, at least in my opinion, can be categorized. There is your positioning, enemy positioning, prediction positioning, min-max positioning, and then the one positioning that I can't think of a proper name for, but it's the kind of positioning that makes the life of other players easier. Like, let's say you're the tank, and let's just say you're on Mother from Old Deer. If you're tanking the boss on one side of the room, and then the safe space for the ceiling beams are on the opposite side of the room, all the melee, including you, have to run all the way across the room. Whereas if you tanked her in the center, you only had to move a little bit. For my next example, I'm going to use an old video of the Old Maids Tower challenge from Legion. I did this at item level 900. The lowest item level to complete this was 898, at least for the first week when the Maids Tower came out. So I'm somewhat proud of myself and feel like my positioning paid off a lot here. There's also some core mechanics in this fight that I feel like most people and guides even ignored when doing this. The boss usually can't be moved unless he's spell locked. This way you can change the enemy's position to better suit yourself, or even increase your own DPS. Since I positioned the boss closer to the center, I got these icicles closer and can now move the boss to them, allowing me to both heal off of them and gain my eye beam cooldown faster. And before I get those comments, oh, but this is in Legion, why are you telling me this? Well, I'm giving you an example here, and it is your job to translate this information to improve yourself and get you to think more about positioning. Here I am on Sekvos demonstrating the min-max positioning. I stand in the center of the middle ring, wait for the next ring to spawn, and stand on the edge of it. There's no reason for me to go any further, so why should I go any further? The middle ring spawns again, I stand in the center, so I can go to either the outer ring or the center ring as fast as possible. We get the center ring, so I go to the edge of the center ring. I don't need to go any further than this, so why would I? Prediction positioning is simply positioning yourself for a mechanic that you know is going to happen. The simplest example I can think of is Cahoon. The boss releases a wave of corruption on a set timer, which means your boss timers will tell you when it's going to happen, and you need to spread out before that happens. Here you can see the wave gets cast, and the next one is in 30 seconds. Your positioning doesn't matter up until that wave happens, so you have plenty of time to do other mechanics or position yourself away from others in that time. There are many more examples of this kind of positioning from many other bosses that you can practice on. Positioning can involve certain mechanics you might not think about, like the warriors on Sekvos. If you have threat indicators on your nameplates, you can tell if they are targeting you, and then you can move around the other warriors to try and keep them stacked. If you have aggro on the dogs on Sul, you can bring them to the tank to make his life easier. These tips can also apply to other games, and don't necessarily have to only apply to WoW. Here I am in Overwatch, and I know they have a Tracer on their team, so I make her life harder by being up here, since she has to go around the building. Once he's down, I can go back to aiming down this alley, where it's really easy to land headshots, and I end up getting their nanoed Genji and Ana, simply because I positioned well and they did not. It's easy to think that positioning doesn't matter much, but it really does separate the average player from the top players. Most players die because they don't position themselves so well, and you know what they say, a dead player is a useless player.